Hey guys, welcome back. Today I got something a bit different, a bit interesting. So I went out, I got me the 14-inch MacBook Pro with the 12-core CPU and the 16-core GPU. Just the slightly above the base M4, it's the M4 Pro. With this here, I have a few games that I tested out on Whiskey and base Mac games as well. So we have League of Legends by Riot Games, DeadLock by Valve, SMITE by Hi-Rez, and then we also have Soulstone Survivors. Now, each of these games played pretty well. They all have their ups and downs, and I'll kind of go over that as we go through the different video games here. Now, objectively speaking, for about a $2,000 device, this was, I would say, more of a mixed bag, but definitely capable as opposed to the M3 generation and even before that as well. Now, does this symbolize a shift in Mac gaming at all? Does it symbolize potentially maybe developers putting more effort into their games? Well, we'll have to see. But for right now, let's get into the first game, which is going to be League of Legends, and this is actually a ranked match. Not the whole match. It's just, a snippet of it here. It's about a couple minutes. And what I'll do is I will also be kind of going over the gameplay, as it plays in the background, and kind of how I felt about during the entire, experience. So here we go. And yeah, you can just kind of skip through it if you'd like, but yeah, here you go. All right, here's the first game we have here. This is League of Legends, pretty popular MOBA we got going on here. I went a Nivea top against a Volibear. We're both AP. This is kind of, a little bit into the game here. This is honestly a very boring game of League. Not really much happens. I think I only died once this whole game. Technically, I don't even think I died here. I don't remember. Nivea has this cool resurrection ability, in case you didn't know. No, I do die here. But, my jungler got a double kill. Totally worth it. Going over the specs of the game. So we're looking at easily over 100, 200 FPS constantly. Now this is playing at 1440p, but I promise you, even playing it at 4K, you're still above 200, FPS. Earlier in the day, I was playing, not recording, just playing, and I was getting upwards of about 600 FPS. I peaked at around 851 FPS. Now, there is a metal script you can run that enables the macOS version of League of Legends to run the metal API, which is kind of like the DirectX version, but for Mac, because, Apple's got to be special and all. Yeah, look at this Volibear, man. Under tower. What a goober. Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, you can see my FPS, very, very stable. Again, I should probably stress this as well. I didn't mention this in the intro card, but every game you're going to see today is played off of a external 4K monitor. And you can kind of see it there at 100 hertz. The HDMI cable I have, wasn't a great one. This is kind of a quick little setup I decided to do. Depending on how well the video goes, obviously, I'll put way more effort into it going forward. But these are some things that I wanted to see personally. Now, playing the game, I have probably already 40 hours plus playing League on the Mac. Honestly, it's the best game you can play on the Mac by far. Now, I'm not no Riot Glazer or anything that. I prefer Dota myself, but for overall gaming experience, I really don't think there's a game that runs better on Mac than League of Legends. This is without Vanguard, although apparently Vanguard is coming to the Mac some point next year, but it's not going to be the same thing as in Windows. It's going to be like a mini version of it that only runs within the client and not kernel level like in Windows. So hopefully a little bit less scary, hopefully a little less taxing on the system. We will see. Now, if you've watched the FPS the whole time, you'll see the little meter going crazy. The metal API. So without the metal API, you basically have anywhere between 100 FPS to about 240, 260 at 4K, right? External monitor, again. Without it, you're still looking very well. Now, here in DeadLock is where things get a bit interesting. In DeadLock here, what's happening is this is running through Whiskey. In Whiskey, what I have all the default settings. You know, I installed it myself. No special guides or nothing like that. I just booted up DeadLock, 1080p. It can play in 4K as well, but you know, you're losing probably 1020 FPS. Again, this is all running off of a 4K monitor. In the bot match, I was getting about 100 FPS average. However, when I summoned in a bunch of Infernuses, you'll see here in a second, it kind of hits like 15, like right now, but it just jumps back way up to 100, no problem. With this game, the settings have to be a bit specific, and the way it kind of loads the shaders and models in the game, and you'll see it coming up here shortly as well when I play a real match. But in the bot, loading screen here, I would 100%, if you do want to play this game, I do think it's playable. It's going to need some more testing, obviously. Maybe Valve can help out a little bit too. Doubt it. They like Linux better. Fair enough. However, as you can see, we're getting a very respectable 90, almost 100 FPS consistently on this map. Almost no stutters. The audio has some weird glitch to it, some weird glitching sounds to it. I don't know if that's because I'm running it externally on a separate monitor, like I said, or if that's just the Whiskey protocol. Anyway, so looking here, I mean, look at all these explosions I'm doing, kills, FPS barely even affected. Everything on this map is rendered in now. All the shaders look good, everything like that, right? So we're going to start the actual gameplay for the in-match here in a moment. Alright, here we go. Loading into a game. Alright, when you load into the game, this takes a while. It takes about 1 to 2 minutes to actually get into the match. I think what's happening here is any model that was not loaded in during the practice match, which is what I did, kind of has to get loaded in now. Now, what that does, at least for my version of the Mac, if you can, look at the frame rate here in the top right, it destroys it. Utterly destroys it. It kills it. And the weird thing with DeadLock 2 is, while you're loading into this, you'll be stuck on this screen, but the game's going to continue to play in the background, and you'll hear it with the audio too. But the game's going to continue playing in the background. So what's going to happen is you're going to be stuck on the loading screen, and then the second you snap back in, once the models are loaded right here, you're already going to be in the zip line. You're already going to be heading the lane with the little announcer speaking to you. And you should see that here in about 5 or 6 seconds. See, look, the game's starting, but remember, the game's already in. And there you go. Your character will almost always have a texture glitch. Almost always. It's weird. I'm not too sure what's causing it. Again, this is Whiskey, which is, a free version of a Windows compatibility layer. So we have to kind of, enjoy it while we can. Now, FPS, you can see right here, as new animations, new models are rendering in, the first time, you lose your FPS hard. But other than that, I mean, you're sitting around 60 to 80 FPS. Like, look how smooth this looks. Now, it felt as smooth as it looks. It felt like there was maybe I would say, a quarter-second delay, just built into the game. I mean, that just happens. Also, ignore how bad my gameplay is right now. I was looking at a bunch of metrics and numbers while doing this here. We lost the game. I'll spoil it right now. But as you can see right now, around 70, 80 FPS. No problems. No longer lagging when they use abilities. However, you'll notice here again in a second. Look at that. Nice snipe. Nice and clean. You'll see the little FPS graph there in the bottom, in the top right. It is going haywire right now. Not only is it loading in what you're seeing on your screen, it's trying to background render in whatever's going on the map right now. Now, remember, we only loaded in a Furnace, which is the fire guy, and Ivy, which is the little Batgirl thing. So the second I look either to the left or to the right, and it has to load in those models, we lose the FPS and the game crashes pretty much. You'll see that here in a few minutes, although I did kind of fast forward through it. So we will go, and as you can see right there too, as the zipline kind of points me automatically towards my other teammates, towards other obstacles, you'll see it kind of, get all weird. Here's my settings, very quick on it. I changed these a few times throughout the match, make it a little bit better, but I think a lot of it has to do with the shaders / textures. So again, no problem going to lane, no issues. Overall, honestly, DeadLock's a very fun game. Like I said, it's 1080p. You probably put up this at the 4K, and get the same experience. For Mac, it doesn't really seem like resolution has any issue with doing anything on it. Right here, Ivy decided to melee me, which she hasn't done yet. So because she tried to melee me, I had to render in that texture, had to render in all that animation. You get the delay, the lag. I mean, if you watch around here, look, the wall looks good. FPS still high 70s, very playable. Valve's anti-cheat does not seem to be kicking in, which is good. Again, you know, I don't know if you'll get banned for doing something like this or not. I really don't. I hope not. But they did just introduce, you know, their version of anti-cheat, so who knows how this is gonna go. Maybe this video gets popular and more people try to get this working on Mac. We can actually get maybe a Mac port going while this is in Source 2. Well, I doubt it, but, you know, we'll see. They used to do it with CSGO. Anywho, so continuing on, again, this whole match, 70 plus FPS, down to 30s, 40s in combat. Right here, we're going to drop again. Still playable. We did hit 20, 25 there for a second. Definitely still playable. Again, remember, this is being pushed to an external monitor. I will have to kind of redo all these tests here on just the average, you know, its own display. See if maybe that, you know, alleviates some of the usage here. Now, one thing I did notice was running Whiskey. In this game, we were hitting around 11 to 13 gigs of RAM usage, and it kept going up. So obviously all these assets are being pushed into the RAM, being cached. Watch this right here. You're going to see my FPS get destroyed. Now remember, we've looked in this direction a few times already. So it's loaded in some of the things, not all the things. So that's why, you know, we kind of lagged for a second or two there. Still playable. There's Ivy. You know, lagged a little bit right there because an ability went off behind me. I forgot the name of the character, but she's a sniper chick, and she's currently in the air behind me sniping me. You'll see her in a second. There she is. Again, all the effects look really good. The gun model looks fine to me. You know, I'm able to punch the creeps here, no problem. You know, able to kill them. No lag. I'm at 110 FPS in this room right now. And the frame rate's very consistent. We get here, new ability gets shot out. As you can see, again, you know, a little messed up here. We hide behind the guard here. Still no issues. Also, in the comments, let me know, you know, if I'm talking too much or not. But, you know, I'm just kind of narrating what's going on. Because I will say, the recording experience and the play experience are different. What you guys are seeing is a little bit smoother than it felt. I would probably give or take around 10 FPS difference. Yeah, you can see right there, memory usage, 11 point, what was that say, 35 gigabytes just for this game to load and run. My MacBook's got 24. macOS uses about, I think it was about 6 or so. I ended up doing a swap of about a gig. Now, you don't really want to use swap memory on Macs. It's not very good for the health of your SSD and system. But I mean, and you'll notice when it swaps too. You can feel like this is probably a swap right here, because look how it just takes me out. You're going from very quick RAM to probably 1/3 the speed SSD. And here I am in settings again. I have a lot of this set to high. I do change, I think, all of this to low, and then I turn off FSR. I think FSR is causing some issues too. I up the shaders again, and all that fun stuff. Now, coming up here, in about, I would say about 30 seconds or so, you're going to see the game crash. I'm going to try to kind of go over why it crashed here in a second. Same thing we've been talking about, though. Any model that was not loaded in prior to joining the game takes so much more resources to load during the match. So much more. Honestly, if you wanted to play DeadLock, I would probably recommend going to bots, switching into every single character once. You're just getting them loaded up in your RAM there. Have no other games open, maybe not even YouTube. You know, I didn't really test if there's anything open in the background besides me recording the video and being an external monitor. So, you know, your mileage may vary. but I would probably recommend nothing in the background. Load all the characters up in practice mode, and then from there, I think you'll probably be all set. You'll see coming up here, the game's gonna crash because if you look at the minimap, we're looking at 4 new players, and here we go. Now, I have this frozen here for about, it froze for 5 minutes. You guys are only going to see about...
Oh, they can try to escape.
You can see the game...
See how that works out for them.
You can also see the FPS stuck at 30. The game is completely frozen. And every time it clicks back in, the FPS adjusts ever so slightly. Doesn't really go below 30. If you can see right there, 30.22, 30.27. You know what I mean? So when it comes back, it's having the issue. I believe this is where it's swapping memory because we're almost at 12 gigs. Now, we're playing a full bots game. This is a private match bots. Here are my settings again. As you can see, I changed a lot of things. So, but, again, high 70s, 80s, 90s. I'm shooting this character. No issues with me fighting this character right now at all. I'm punching him, he's using abilities, I'm diving. We're consistently above 80 FPS. And I mean, for a game like this, you know, pretty much an esport game, that's where I would expect you to be. 60 playable, anything above 60, wonderful. Now, for a $2,000 device, that's not that great. Then again, you're emulating it through pretty much Windows over Linux. Sorry, Unix. But, I mean, as you can see here, I go around, I kill him in a couple seconds here. It's a bot, he's just doing dumb stuff, no problem. If you look at the FPS graph, it is going crazy. It will simmer down here in a second, but it is going nuts while all this stuff is going on. Now, I did enable a few extra settings that were not enabled in the first gameplay through Whiskey. I added an additional feature to the bottle. I believe it's DVK. And that seemed to help a little bit. Though, as you can see here, it's still a bit rocky. And then the same thing's going to apply again in a couple minutes when we go ahead and look over at the other lanes. Now, again, don't judge the gameplay. We're all here just to see if it even works on the Mac. So, there's a few more games I have them up in my my list here, but I figured, you know, why not test DeadLock, new up-and-coming game in beta. Probably has the highest chance of being ported over, or at least, you know, being allowed to work on Mac. You know what I mean? No blockage from crossover or anything like that with the new Valve anti-cheat. I've been posting it in the Discord. No one's been, you know, really speaking about it. So, in fact, many people said the game does not work at all in Mac. It doesn't even boot up. This launching, no problem, right off of Whiskey, you know, is crazy to me. I am using the Windows 11 bottle. Obviously, probably the Windows 10 bottle is going to be, I would assume, probably more consistent with frame rates and everything like that. I think there's an issue with DirectX 12, features like that. And remember, this is Whiskey. It's a little bit behind crossover. I'm expecting if you're using crossover, you're probably going to have a better experience. Now, it's going to happen again here. We're going to load in some new models, and you're going to see it lag a little bit. Not as bad as last time, though. I say that, but it's still pretty bad. But you're going to see it catch up here pretty quickly. And there you go. So, I mean, before a fight, I mean, look at all the effects going off, you know what I mean? Before a fight, just look around the map. You know what I mean? Just if you don't want to go to bots, like this game mode right here, you know, just look around the map, you'll probably be fine doing it that way. As long as you cache in, I would say at least 80% of the characters. And then you're going to see it, it's going to break over here completely. And we will see it crash again. Now, I think it crashed this time because we're seeing 4 new characters again. 2 on the enemy side, 2 on our side. And then we're seeing 2 more characters across the map as well. So it's loading in all 4 of them, all 4 of the effects, then the other 2 across the map, all 4, their effects and their minions and everything like that. This is where the game kind of falls apart. You can see it's still struggling, it's still trying. That graph is going crazy. The entire time, though, the MacBook fans not going nuts. This is a maximum power battery. Consistently, now we're stuck at 47. Still 17 FPS higher than the first crash. Now, does that matter? No, we're frozen. It's stuck. Our average frames is 2. We're getting 2 average frames. So this is going to go on here for a couple seconds. You're going to see it jitter a little bit. And then the game just straight up fails. And then we're going to move into the next game here that actually played very well. So we'll go ahead and we will hop into that here in a second. Now we have one of my favorite games, Soulstone Survivors by GameSmithing Limited. This is a game that came out in 2022, early access, and for the last 2 years, if not longer, they've been polishing this. This is in 1440p. This is on Whiskey still, on Steam. As you can see, some characters' textures don't really load here. Everything's on low. I'll show you the settings here in a second. But if you look at the FPS, we're sitting around 60s, the 80s, even 90s at some point. Now this is like Vampire Survivors. So this is the type of game. Here's my resolution. Not really a lot of settings in this game to mess with. Turn off all the extra stuff. Switch the resolution a bit here. And here we go. There you go. And look at the FPS. I mean, this is extremely playable. We're sitting easily over 100 FPS the entire time. It does drop down as more mobs and units show up on the map here. This one, I'm not going to talk too much through because consistently it stays very good. I would highly recommend you support these devs. They do listen. They're very great. I'm not glazing. I enjoy the game. I have every character, as you saw, almost every single achievement in the game. Very few lag spikes, very few frame rate drops. Fans did not even ramp up on the MacBook at all. Again, 1440p being streamed to a 4K monitor externally, again, because that does make a difference. You can see here, once I get the pirate ship, this is their newest character, but once I get the pirate ship here, frame drops a little bit, but it's also because of one-shots like 30 mobs. You'll see it here after I go through all this fun stuff here, because I don't want any of these. And then here comes the cannon shells. They all die. We dropped about 90, 80, 70. We're around there. Very playable still. And this continues well and through almost the entire gameplay. So I'll let this run here, and I will, I'll chime back in right before the special sauce happens. Alright, looking here, guys. Find the bosses. No problem finding the bosses. Frame rates looking good. A little bit less than it was before, but a lot more mobs, a lot more effects on the screen. And you're going to see here in a second, it just dies. Now, what I think is happening here, I make it around this rock, about 5 more seconds or so. I almost died, but I hit I got my revive, or not death. Here, it crashes. Now, a few things I think that happened is either A, I actually died, so the death screen came up, and the death screen obviously isn't rendered in yet, Therefore, it's trying to render it. It does crash completely, and it does not work after. But replaying it, I got the whole mission completed. Now we're in SMITE. This is SMITE. We're playing it at 1440p. Full screen, and you can see two different FPS counters in the right and the left. The right is, I would say, more accurate. The left is more stable. As in, I think it waits an extra, microsecond to adjust, its FPS, as opposed to the right-hand side that's adjusting immediately for every single frame. However, it's arena, so it's 5v5, 10 heroes on the map, textures on high, everything else on low, shaders on pretty much off. This is SMITE, full multiplayer MOBA game, similar to League of Legends, similar to Paragon, Dota, all those fun games. You can see here, FPS in the loading screen, not super great. Then again, it's a loading screen, it's probably capped at around 30 to 40 FPS. Also, I believe SMITE loads the map, the models, then the extra units like jungle creeps and stuff like that. So what's probably happening right now is, even though we can't see anything in the background, the Mac is kind of rendering through all of those. You will see here as well, once we get into the game, frame rate consistently is excellent. More towards the end of the game do we start seeing any frame rate issues. Now, with that, I'm not too sure why that was. Now, again, all of these games I have shown you today were played pretty much back to back. What I think may have happened, and I'll have to do more in-depth testing on this if you guys would like to know, but what I think happened here is the Mac was unable to clear out the RAM from the cached data from the other games. So SMITE, even though it only says it's using like 3 to 4 gigs right now, SMITE's on top of, let's say, like 11 gigs, right, out of the 24, meaning we're already swapping. And as the game goes on, more effects are happening. I mess with some settings throughout the match. All of this stuff is happening quite quickly. You will see here some character models didn't even load in. So I think before we even got into this game, there was already a cache issue. You'll see it on my effects too, although those go away throughout the game a little bit. I think after my first death, those kind of like white flickers go away. I mean, everything else looks great, honestly. Yeah, see the white flickers around my tornadoes are already gone. That's already been cached, already better. We're sitting in the high 60s. It fluctuates. Definitely playable, though. Again, this is 1440p. Everything on high except for shaders and, I believe, shadows. You'll see my settings here in just a moment. Of course, when there's a bunch of weird stuff going on, we start getting those artifacts, those problems creep back up again. Almost everyone on my team's abilities look totally fine, though. Here are my settings. So, yeah, everything's on high. Except for the shader quality I have on low, and then I lowered the textures just to see if it would refresh the models, and it didn't, because like I said, the models are loaded in before the game starts, so that's a change you kind of have to reboot your game for. Now, yes, I died a lot of this was me checking numbers, writing down stuff, putting my thoughts together on this entirely. Also, I haven't played SMITE in about 4 years, so coming back to it and realizing I don't even need to buy boots anymore was pretty interesting. Now SMITE 2 is on Unreal Engine 5, which is, owned by Epic Games. So I don't even know if that's going to be playable on the Mac, due to the Apple and Epic Games little drama they got going on. I mean, this is also Unreal Engine, but this is Unreal Engine, I believe, either 3 or 2. It's like an 11-year-old game. Kind of similar to League in the sense they just have not updated their engine, which is where Dota 2 is superior in, because they, from the beginning, switched to Source 2. And since Source 2 came out on Dota, they were also pushing, innovations across their other games. Regardless, yeah, I mean, look at the frame rate. This is totally playable. This is probably would be the worst case scenario as well. On the actual Conquest map, you would probably not have this many high resolution models in your face as much as you are right now. You also probably wouldn't have this many effects happening at the same time. Again, with further testing, I will see if Conquests has, a different setup here. Now, Smite was also rated as unplayable. You cannot get this game to work on crossover. For some reason, Whiskey runs it no problem. Again, I didn't change any settings. I just installed it through the Windows version of Steam. Hit play. It did its little installation thing. And yeah, here we are. No problem. There is a weird bug that happens, though. When you're starting up the game, you may not be able to hit the play button to play. Now, you're not banned or anything like that. Just for some reason, it just decided to not load any menu past the shops. So you can buy skins. You can shop the battle pass. You can even look at heroes. You cannot hit play and join a match. The way you fix that, you just reboot the game. When you reboot the game, it just caches in that last bit, and you're good to play. As you saw, getting to a match is no time at all. No problem, just like League. I think a lot of these older games, League's a pretty old game, are going to work almost flawlessly. The new games are probably where you're going to have some trouble on, and that's mainly because of the minimum requirements, the specs, and just the overall new technology that the Mac just isn't supporting. But yeah, look at that. We're still sitting around, 40 FPS, 41. It goes up and down. But you'll see throughout the game, the FPS gets worse and worse. The memory doesn't really change too much throughout the game. It goes up very slightly. But I don't know if there's a memory leak with it or not. Again, further testing might be required. But, overall, very playable. I will let this play out a little bit here, just so you guys can kind of, see and hear the game without me yapping away in your ears. And I will come back towards the end here to give my my final 2 cents on the whole thing. So enjoy.
It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and I'm the sheriff. You gonna start getting kills too?
Okay, my overall thoughts on Windows on Mac gaming. So just using Whiskey for the first time, I'm honestly very impressed. We got DeadLock to work, even, for a little bit, we got it to work. Obviously some tinkering or, nudging Valve a little bit. Maybe we could get that to work more permanently, a little bit better. Smite, I would say Smite is pretty much flawless. Obviously there's some changes that you can do in your own settings. I could probably put everything to low and have no problems at all. I could play in 1080p, you know what I mean? There's a bunch of little things you can do. We also got League of Legends, flawless, completely flawless. You probably can't get better than that at all on the Mac. No issues at all with that in any regards. 4K, 2K, 1080p, 720p, whatever you want to play it on. Full quality, low quality, whatever. And if you want more FPS, just use the Metal API. You can Google it. It's on Reddit. And if you guys, comment enough, maybe I'll put it in the comments of this video. Overall, I would probably rate the current Mac gaming situation as a 5, a mixed bag. I think Apple needs to open source it so we can all help each other together. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.